It's really Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. Should we sing or I tell them after? It's really after. They should sing now or afterward? They should sing now or after show. No, if that guy gets out of control, so then anyways. All right, today's a big day, Rabbi say. It's a very big day. I'm going to talk about, I have to finish up the discussion of Muksa B'Yadai. And what was I supposed to say? But what about it? Given Yishmir Sestarim, Rabbi, so whoever doesn't understand what it is, go talk to Rabbi Cooper, he'll explain it to you. And I see there's a few guys that still don't have a chavrusa here. Whoever that is, he should come to me afterward. I made that announcement once or twice. Okay, so today we have the topic of Muksa B'Yadai that we spoke about yesterday. The Iker, we spoke about the Chelek, which is Negei Us. Our sugya is Malachta L'Isser, and the sugyas of Gufay. That sugya we already basically discussed. The rest of the sugyas of Basis, so we're not skilled. We're not skilled yet to discuss that sugya so much. But Liftor B'lei Klum Yefsher, to not mention it, just so the first part of the Shia, I'll just say like halacha dik. A lot of this stuff we're going to come back to, Mr. Shem, when we learn Basis and we get more skilled in the understanding when Muksa is in your hand. But the basic rules of what Muksa is in your hand, we really discussed. Yesterday we saw Klisham L'Akli Isser, when it's in your hand. Oh, thank you. Klisham L'Akli Isser, when it's in your hand. When Muksa Klisham L'Akli Isser is in your hand after having done what was permitted, so that's Baruch. That you're allowed to put it where you want. We'll see today in Mitzvah Shem where exactly you could put it, but that's bar in the place game. That's not up for discussion. That's a b'li chaylik. If you already took it to use or you took it to move its makim, then b'li chaylik, you're allowed to put it down where you want to put it down. Okay. When you accidentally picked it up, you forgot or this or that. That was a shtickle fight. Maisa, you see the Mishabura, it seems to be like the Mishabura says, I saw some svarim there, mistapik. I don't know what the makim to be mistapik is. The Mishabura says, look at the Achrayim, they were Machriya. And the Mishabura clearly gives you the implication, gives you the impression clearly that you could be Saimech, a Klishim, the Isser, that you accidentally picked up. He does give you the impression that you are allowed to put it wherever you want. It sounds like Bein B'Shaykik, Bein B'Mezid, Bein B'Everything, Mezid maybe not, I don't know, maybe a Knas later. But Akapanim, if basically a Klishim Lachli Isser, once it's in your hand, you can put it where you want. There's a Goyin not like that. Everybody must know the Goyin. If you are an Einikel of the Vilna Goyin, so then you should not do this. Right? If you're maybe perhaps a great nephew of the Vilna Goyin, but Moshe Feinstein was a great nephew, and he wouldn't do this stuff. Okay, but everybody else certainly you could be Mekel Klishum Machtali Isser when it's in your hand. There's a makom to be Mekel. Try not to be Mekel if you don't have to. If it's Shachach. Okay. Then we spoke about the case of Muksa Machmas Gufa. That's real. Evil muksa, which doesn't have a terim to move around. And then the plot thickens, that got a little bit more aggressive. The Magen Avraham was still mekel. Of them, we saw many achrayim, that's already there. The Chaim wasn't so happy about it. And we saw the Mishabura, that's really the Achras HaMishabura. He's not thrilled with this. We saw Mishabura. I yesterday mentioned the Graz, which I'm chayzer a little bit on. The Graz doesn't seem to say like I said. I said the Graz was talking about when you picked up the Muksa, Machmas Gufay, the Heter, so then in that case, the Graz was Mekel, which the case is, I'll give in a moment. It seems to me I made a mistake. In the Graz, I think it's Mekel whenever you have Muksa in your hand, but Makam Hefsid. That means according to the Graz, anytime, the Balatanya, anytime you have Muksa in your hand by mistake, so then the sheet of the Balatanya, that's the Balatanya. Right? Isn't it Gimel Kislev? Isn't that something with the Balatanya? What? Yad Kislev. Something going on there. I don't know, because the Graz maybe, I don't know. Akapanim, but certainly on the Graz's yard side, you could be making the Makam Hefsid. But the Mishabur over here, he doesn't seem to be so thrilled with this. So Muksa Machmas Kufa is something that's an evil Muksa once it's in your hand. So is there a Makam to be making this Makam? Is the Mishabur happy with this Kuli? He's not so happy. However, that's really what went on here yesterday. However, Lamaisa, There was one other Nakuda. Yeah, however, the Mishabura was a very difficult Mishabura. Mishabura and Simin, Shin Lamed Tes. Okay, that one we answered. That one was, the Mishabura was talking about candles that were not lit. Okay, that one we answered. But the Mishabura in Ilchus Yantif, there's no games. The Mishabura over there tells you that when you're holding in your hand challah, it had just turned into challah, dainu truma tmeya. So the Mishabura doesn't say drop it like we would have expected. The Mishabura says, what should you do? It's like the Mishabura, put it down where you want. Put it down where you want. You know, it's a difficult shaila. What's the reason why? Maybe there's a makom to say that since you did it beheter, like we explained, the muksa was created in your hands, you know, something like that. The muksa was created in your hands. It wasn't muksa until, you know, in the beginning in your hand, in the beginning of the life of your hand, it was mutter gomer. And then it was created into muksa. So maybe there the Mishabura gives you a little bit of a kula. And there was a shaila on that. If you say that, then what's going to be, which we'll talk about in a moment, when you have eggshells in your hand and pits in your hand from various types of fruits, vegetables, and whatever. So then, if you would say that svara, would you say the same exact svara by fruits and vegetables and say, look, when it was in my hand originally, it was mutter, it was created the muks in my hand? Or would somebody overly aggressive maybe make a chilik and say, no, even if over there I'm going to make you drop it, that's because it wasn't created in my hand. It was just revealed in my hand, some type of interesting love just like that. Mashenke by challah, it was pasha created in my hand. When I picked it up, it was mutter gomer. Poof, it turns into issa gomer. So maybe that's a case of where the Mishabura is willing to be makel. It's just like, you know, you lose your cheshik a little bit when you read the Mishabura. He says it with like such a simplicity. You know, it's such an awesome chiddush. The Mishabura just says, where was it? Tavkav Sivkan Chavtes. He says, V'afal pikein miyad when you're koyri challah adayini biyadai mutter to take it lekol makom sheyirtze. It's just like, you know, the Mishabura is not a sefer of Chedushin. He should have asked the kasha, no? He should have at least asked the kasha or something. I don't know which way that's a raya, but it just bothers me. I don't know which way it's a raya. Akopanim Reb Nissen told us that if it's a makom atzeret gadol, like the Mishabura was makel also, like the Magen Avram. So, like I said yesterday, if somebody's holding in his hand an evil muksa and it's a matter of it being destroyed, and it's something which is a very big value or something, so you have to know there is a Magen Avram. There's a Magen Avram by case of the Magen Avram, even by Shachach. This case is Heter. He picked it up a Heter. By Shachach, it's really the Magen Avram by himself. And now I told you the Graz. That the Graz also maybe b'makom hefsid. So maybe, especially if you have some type of blood that has Hasidish capillaries in it and all types of other things in it. So maybe the Graz, you know, Baltanya, maybe. Okay, that's kind of a recap of everything that we saw yesterday. Sorry? Yeah, I don't know. I don't listen. I don't want to offer my opinion, but it's something's very hard to believe here. And to not mention the Magen Avram, and over here he tells you, in Hilchus Muksa, you know, Rav Scheinberg Zechron of the Vracha, every time I would ask him any shaila, a steer in Mishabura, the first question he would always ask me, where is the Mishabura talking about the sugya? That's more important to me. Where's the Mishabura in the sugya? That's what was more important to Rav Scheinberg. So in the sugya of Muksa, Mishabura is machmir. In the sugya of Muksa, he's machmir on the Magen Avram. He says, no, not like the Magen Avram. So in some other Zaitik sugya where it gets mentioned, he wasn't. So sometimes, I'm afraid to say this in public because it's not 100% the cloud, but sometimes the Mishabura over there, he just followed a different paisik and he wasn't necessarily getting involved in the shaila. And I don't know, maybe he made these cheshbonis. He feels he could write it because there is a Magen Avram that says it, and we have our svaras that, you know, it's heter and it was created. So the Mishabura just said, leave it over there, leave it. Is that a raya? If you're holding by mistake your very expensive phone, by mistake you picked up your phone, is that a raya? You don't have to drop it on the spot. It's not really a raya. It's not really right. So if somebody asks me, do I have to drop it on the spot? No, the Magen Avram is makel, Mishabura is not makel, right? I would drop it on the spot. I do like it says in the Mishabura. Can I tell somebody else that he has to do that? I can't tell somebody else he has to do that, right? I would tell my family members and my talmidim, from Yid, he does like the Mishabura, he drops it on the spot. But if you have, you know, blood inside of you that, and this is with the fact that the Magen Avram was the Rav from Kallus, right? That's his fist. Afal Pikein. But the Mishabura is our Rabbi, you know. But if somebody tells me I'm an anical of the Balatanya, and you know, and not just like from the what was her name, the Fegi side, I'm from Mamish, the Balatanya straight, and whatever, you know. Then okay, what do you want from me? I don't know what you want from me. What? Yeah, okay. So you could like start, you know, wiggling and doing all types of wiggles and stuff, you know, and wiggle all the way there, and then let it wiggle down onto your body and whatever. Okay, depends how athletic you are. What? For sure, okay. I don't have a problem with that. Meaning that gets involved in muksa begufay, which for sure you could be making. Yeah, if you want to drop it onto your foot, that's for sure okay. Yeah, that's for sure okay. Okay, akapanim. Does it does? There's one last shaila. Somebody was asking me before we go into. I didn't finish the sugya yet, but Klappa yesterday what we spoke about. So somebody asked. He asked, no, what's this business? Chamshi, I think you asked. What's this business that we're talking about? You know, the case of where, let's say the Aguda, where he started before Shabbos, and he started the Heter Gomer, and then it goes into Shabbos. And why are we calling that, you know, Hischel Be'isser? What's that? That's called Hischel Be'isser. The truth is, the Mishbru over here by us, as you've got in your Gimel, he really calls it Hischel Be'isser. Mishbru. Where is the Mishabura? He brings the Goin. I mean, it's part of the Cheshbon here, but he brings the Goin, who's Chaylik in the Magen Avram. Okay, he says, okay, you know, I shouldn't have jumped there. Give me 1 second. That idea is going to be a fight between the Mishnah Berurah and the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish Taka says like you. Chazon Ish says that which was started before Shabbos is called Heter, and once something started before Shabbos, it's biyodoi beheter. You know, let's say I have a klishim makdal yisr that's in your pocket from before Shabbos. So the Chazon Ish will tell you. So that's called you started the heter. And therefore you for sure have the heter because you're continuing the heter, right? And the Mishabura is not like that. The Mishabura, the way you learn over the Goin, it's a little bit complicated at this point, but just take my word for it. There definitely are poskim not like that. And they say, no, that's not true. That's a klish, malachdai, l'isser, which was started be'isser, but the point is they look at Erev Shabbos as a time of when you're doing Isser. It's just a time that you're allowed to do Isser, but you started be'isser. That's a fight. Okay, now that's not kind of what we spoke about yesterday. Now, it's like this. There's one sugya, which I'm just going to, in these minutes, I'm just going to say it halachadik. If you understand, the halacha, you'll understand. The background of the understanding of the halacha, you really have to learn basis. But I just feel like if you're in it, I'll say the cases, which are negaya, because these cases are going to come up. I hope they don't come up this Shabbos, but they could, you know. And that's the case of really what happens when I'm holding something which is a basis. The basic idea of a basis, you know, you're holding a table, and the table's holding leichters. You realize while you're in the middle of holding the table that you're holding a table that has leichters, and you have to drop it right there. So that case is easy. That case is yes. Drop it, put it down, whatever, right? Why? Because there's no shaila. That's real evil muksa. The table became a basis. So the table's muksa. The table has the din of the candles. So that case is just like you're holding regular evil muksa. So whatever the din of evil muksa is, that's what you just learned. That case is easy. The problem starts when you have cases which are not so simple. For example, you are holding something which is not a basis. Like I'll give you an example, right? What would be an example? He's holding, let's say, a table. Let's say he's holding a table. And let's say the table is takanana basis because you had a svarim on the table when Ishmael came in or something like that, right? So the table's not a basis, okay? Now, to pick up that, you're picking it up in a case where it's not allowed, right? You accidentally picked up the table. You're not allowed to do tiltul minat. I mean, this table right now has a computer on it, right? It says svarim on it, okay? It has svarim on it. The svarim are more chashiv than the computer. So therefore, if I would need to move this table for the tzarich of the makim, that's called, the table's not muksa. So elamai, what's the muksa? The computer's muksa. So it's a tiltul minat tzad. And indirectly moving the muksa. So now there are a terim. Indirect movement of the muksa is mutter. Let's say the makim, I need this area. So I'd be allowed to move the table. Let's say I don't need the area and I started moving the table. Okay, so then I'm indirectly moving muksa. So what's it then? If I indirectly move the muksa, once it's in my hand, now can I, do I have to put it down the yard, or do we say this type of lundus, the same idea? Once something's in my hand, am I allowed to continue, right? That's one type of case that you can have over here. And in this case, so again, I'll give you the marmakim in the meantime, but Mitzvah Shem, we will come back to it. Mishbur over here, Mishin Test, that's the simon of buses. So Mishbur over here, and Sivkatan, I think Tess it was. Mishbur says, let's see, there's an easier one in your base. Let's see that one. He says, all right, it is complicated in buses. The Mishabura basically has a shita that, let's say even easier. I pick up this table because I want to move it, because I need this area here. But I don't really, am I allowed to now put it where I want? I'm allowed to now put it where I want. So the Mishabura says over here, yes. He says, L'chein yachal lena k'moishi ma'even. He's talking about a case of a muksa or whatever. U'letaltel ad makom sheyirtza, and you'll be allowed to put it there. Okay, so the Mishabura, all the cases of the Mishabura, I realize that's going to be a little bit too difficult to go into. The one thing I want to mention over here, which I think is Taka Negeya, these cases we'll come back to. That's, B'li we'll come back to these cases. When you have tilted minatah, but generally, in a case of where you're moving a table, we're going to let you move it to where you want, unless the table itself is a proper bus. Okay, there's more complicated aspects of this, and you'll have to, I guess, hold off and wait till we get there. But there's one case that we keep on talking about, which is the wallet case. And that was the makor of this entire halacha, right? So this is very interesting. Can I have a Mishabur a second? Because my Mishabur is broken into 2 volumes. It's very interesting. The Mishabur, the Ramah brings this aguda that we mentioned. This is very negay. You have money in your pocket, okay? You have money in your pocket, very common case, right? You have money in your pocket, you're allowed to continue walking, It's an Erev, I'm not getting involved with an Erev, whatever. It's an Erev, I'm allowed to continue walking. I don't want to take my pants off right there and shake it out because then I'll lose my money, right? I just don't want to take off my pants. But I don't want to take off my pants there and then I'll lose my money, right? So the Shulchan Aruch says like this. He says, the Ramah says, Misha shachach kisei olav b'Shabbos. He forgot his money belt on it. Now the Ramah's case is much worse than what we're talking about because a money belt is a place that you put your money. So that's a real proper buses. It's like a real proper buses and it's a real normal way of carrying things and okay. But my case is money's in my pocket so that my pocket didn't become a buses because I forgot my money there. Nobody willingly puts money into his pocket on Erev Shabbos to leave it there on Shabbos unless he's not normal, right? That's a shachach, right? So it says the Ramah, what do you do? If you're bebeisai, if you're in your house, yachal leilach imay lecheder, you're allowed to walk to a different room, a different room. You go to a different room, take off your belt, let it drop down over there. If you're bashuk, so he says that's a problem that gets involved in what's it called, in carrying and hitzah and whatever. So what's the kasha? Kasha is what's going on over here. This is evil muksa. This is what we started with, right? This is evil muksa, and it's Erev Shabbos. So Erev Shabbos, the Mishabura says over here, and he says it over there, but over here he says mefurish. He says the muksas biyadai yachal leilach imay lekol makam sheyirtza. Right? In other words, even though it's Isser. It's Isser because it started Erev Shabbos. I told you this is the fight between the Mishabura and the Chazon. But you started Erev Shabbos. So what's this all about? And it's Gufay. What's this all about? Why are you allowed to bring this wherever you want? This is the worst case in the world, right? I'm carrying evil muksa, the oifen that I forgot, in an oifen of Isser, and I can continue carrying until I, find a place to settle. What's this all about? Mazem, yeah, mazem. What is this? So there's a bir halacha here. Bir halacha, this is a very big, shocking bir halacha when you learn the sukkahs of buses. But the bir halacha over here, did I write down where? I didn't. Maybe I did. Let's see. Bir halacha. I didn't write down where. 1 second. It's got to be right here. The bir halacha says here. Yachal leilech ayin mishtabura mashakasav me'ashem magra. Listen to this. Ubederech ayim achriya. A kiss that has a tyrus kli, v'hi lo yinasid basis lamayis. The kiss didn't become a basis. Why? Because he nichad b'shikha. Okay, it's hard to understand this bir halacha because that's the place which is meyuchad for your money. But let's say our pockets, So that's what Mishabur just described our pockets. You put money in your pocket and you forgot the money there. You didn't plan on it being there on Shabbos. So your pants aren't the bustis, okay? So he says, you're allowed to continue walking. What does he mean? So if it's in my hand, I can continue going. He says, but if it's real muks like money, I'll feel the tzarek over. If it's in your hand, you got to throw it down miyad. Over here he says you got to throw it down miyad. He says, Milvad the Ismail of Mila, the Mila knife, he says that's a little bit different. He says that Mikol Makam, once it's in your hand, we are Mako, and that we're Mako on. But the Bir Halacha starts out over here, he says, well, if it didn't become a basis, so then you're allowed to be metaltal tzarech mekayma. Now I was intrigued. What is this? I'm carrying the money in my pocket in the normal way I carry things, right? So I look up in the Derech Chaim, and the Derech Chaim over here, he says something very hard to understand. He says, it's not a basis, it's called tiltul min hatzad, and therefore it's mutter. Now, is this tiltul min hatzad? This is the most normal way of carrying money. That's a normal thing to do. And it's tiltum min atzad also the tzarich davar ha'aser. I'm doing it so that I can save my money, right? And afa pikein, what does it say over here? It seems to say it's mutter. So now I'm leaving it like this. We don't know why, but that's the psak of the Mishnah Berurah. We have to learn one day. We have to learn back in buses. I don't feel the oilam is skilled enough yet to go into buses, but mitzvah when we're all equal, we'll don it. But in this Mishnah Berurah, there's an unbelievable chiddush. This is halacha l'maisa. In this Mishnah Berurah, it says, if I am holding something in my pocket, then and I don't want to lose the item without Erev issues, whatever. I have the money in my pocket, my car keys, my money, anything that you forgot, just a moment, anything I forgot in my pocket on Erev Shabbos, and it didn't become a basis, which is 95% of the things that we forget in our pockets on Erev Shabbos, and there you are in the shul, and there's money in your pocket. So now, what do you do? What do you do? So if you wouldn't have learned this, you would have said, I don't know, it's money, and money is very scary, money is real, and this is not tiltul min atzad. So the answer is no. You're allowed to walk home. Now, could you sit in the shul for the next 45 minutes? And that already, I don't know, that's already pushing it a little bit. I don't know. That's already pushing it. I would think you should try and find a place in the shul, or if you live near the shul, to walk home from the shul. I don't know. That already, Mitzvah Shem will learn more and we'll try and see. That already is pushing it. To go and sit there for 45 minutes in the shul and say, well, it's only tiltum min atzad, I'm not doing anything. I don't know. That already doesn't sound to me so glad. This is just a glad, right? Sorry? That's called tiltum min atzad. Tiltum min atzad is us, right? Sorry? It's a constant heter. It's tiltum min atzad. It's mutter when you have this and this, right? So, we don't have anything more than that, right? It says in the Ramah, shacha kes imu bebeisai yachal leilach imay leched la'atich hagayrai. Nobody ever was making more than that. Again, I'm telling you, we're not skilled enough to understand what's the hesber in this. I don't usually do this, but I felt like, after learning the sugya, how can we not mention this thing? I even told Rabbi not to bring you the Mamakaimis. We'll talk about it. But this halacha l'maisa. You should know that that's what it comes out. Halacha l'maisa. What's the pshat in this? Is taka very, very big chiddush. This is where the Gruss says no way. This is the Gruss. The Gruss says no way. He says, you know why? Because that's not called hischil beheter. That's called hischil be'isser. This is the goyim that I mentioned. The goyim says over here, this is called hischil be'isser, and therefore nothing starts. And the Mishnah Berurah doesn't argue on that. He says, I know it's hischil be'isser, but it's only tiltum min atzad. It's only tiltum min atzad. And this pure halacha is a gold mine. He says, but if you have in your hand money, of course you have to throw it down right away. Let's say you put your hand into your pocket again, right? Person doesn't think. He puts his hand into his pocket. There's money there. He takes it. He goes, oh my God. He thinks it's a paper. He doesn't know what it is. He looks in there, and it's a $100 bill. There's a Franklin, right? There he is. There's a Franklin right there, looking at him in the face. What does he do? So in that case, it says the Mishnah Berurah, you throw it on the floor. That's what Mishnah Berurah does. That's what it says in the Mishnah Berurah, right? What? Mishnah Berurah says, "K'goyin moyes ein lem het tilto not loy biyadai asa leilech rak yizraik oisai takef." When you do it, when you threw it on the floor, this is a ma'isa that happened to one of my sons was sitting next to me about 2 years ago. He took out of his pocket. It was a 50 shekel bill. 50 shekel in Eretz Yisrael is like because they don't have as much money as like in America, right? So it's like mamish like $100 bill, right? He took out the money in his hand, right? I looked at him. I said, "Drop it," right? Boom, he dropped it right there. Okay, then we kicked it under the farm, right? But I told him, you should know when you did that, you threw it on the floor, right? I made a mistake. I told him afterward. I told him, drop it. I should have told him, throw it. The Mishnah Berurah says, Yizroik miyadai, right? Next time it ever happens to you, and you want to be Harein Mekayim, don't have time. There's no time for the muchans. Afterward, you say, I was muchan Mekayim the mitzvah to listen to the Heilige Chofetz Chaim, and I threw it on the floor, and then you kick it under so that you don't lose it, right? He definitely over there was machriya. Yeah. It is game over. It was always game over. That's the truth. But okay, we have conscience. Okay, so that says Rabbi say my contract was not Mekayim me to discuss that. And therefore, we're going weiter. Anybody has a kasha on it? I'll answer maybe after it over there. But okay, that's number. Now, we spoke yesterday about giving it to a friend, right? Once it's in your hand, could you give it to a friend? We saw the Pri Megadim said, it's mutter to give it to a friend. The Machzis HaShekel says, what? You can't give it to a friend? What's this all about, right? Now, by Bris Milah, there's a lot of raid. I'm going to have like Milah Day over here where we talk about all the various Milah Shailas because Milah, when we get to Chasar and Kiss, is a big parsha, what the Moyelim do. We're going to get there in Yetz Hashem. I just tell you, by the Moyelim, there's a Mefurish Mishnah Berurah that says that you could give it to your friend. Right? That's here. You can have your Mishnah Berurah back. There's a Mefurish Mishnah Berurah. He's in Siman Shin Yud Tezvav. Did I read this yesterday? I read it yesterday. Shin Yud Tezvav. The Shabur over here says, he seems to say, he says, if you're able to on your own put it down. Oh yeah, we spoke about this yesterday. If you're able to on your own put it down, so then put it down. But if you're doing the Priya, you never ever want to be doing the Priya while you're holding a knife. And therefore he says, give it to your friend. So you see from the Mishnah Berurah, giving it to the friend is not the lichatchila thing. Doesn't like it. But if you have no choice, you could. Now, is that a raya to all of muktzah that's in your hand in cases where you have a terim, right? Cases where you have a terim. Is this a raya? You just saw in Reish Tamich Vav that's something different about Mila. There's something different about Mila. Now, here specifically, I want to throw you a svara so that you can understand what's going on here. Here specifically, there's a heter of Mila. There's a heter for me to mal. Okay? For whatever reason, I don't have to throw my Mila knife on the floor. Can anybody think of a reason why you wouldn't be having to throw your Mila knife on the floor? What? Get ruined is not enough of a reason. You have to lose $100 bill also. For Shabbos, you don't come to work on Saturday, don't come to work on Sunday. Zaydis and Bubbas, they lost their job 40 Shabbos in a row, some of us. Right? Sorry? So this right, maybe the pshat is that Pashas Maisa the Mila, it's definitely not Muksa, right? Pashas Maisa Mila, it's for sure not Muksa. So maybe this reminds us of Yena's story of the challah that it's turning into Muksa that minute. There's what to talk about here. That's why I want to keep Mila separately, right? But the Mila is not finished, but using the knife is finished, right? Sorry? Okay, you don't have to assume that there'll be teeth and Shayna Ma'akvin, it's not doing a bris in East Jerusalem, you don't have to assume that he's, but okay, maybe, if that's is that a normal thing? You know better than me. Yeah. As a B'Shayna Ma'akvin, B'Shas Maisa, it's only B'Shas Maisa Mamish, not when you let go of the knife. So once I let go of the knife, once he's not Polish, close mind he's doing. Okay, wait, Rabbi say, I want to just tell you a svara. Listen to a svara. Listen to a svara. And I'm going to prove this svara because it's a big chiddush. I'm about to tell you a big chiddush. It's not my chiddush. I think it's from the Mishnah. Rabbi say, maybe, he has a heter to be holding this knife. And for whatever reason, that's clear in the Mishnah Berurah, he would be allowed to put it wherever he wants. Okay, that's clear in the Mishnah Berurah. He would, which is maybe because it started out the heter. Maybe it's related to those svaras we spoke about. It started out the heter, it turned into Isser, something like that. In that case, where something was bad, that maybe is a little bit, a svara that keeps on recurring over here. No, lately it just keeps coming up, that svara. That a knife that was in my hand was mutter gomer, and then poof, turned into muksa. It seems to be there is some svara over here that you are allowed to continue doing that. Just a moment. That's what it seems to be by the case of challah. We saw that. Now we're seeing it by bris milah knife, right? But it seems to be that so I have a heter. What's my heter? My heter is to go and put it down. Now, if you are doing something which is kivyachol, like we only see you as a part of the siluk, kivyachol, we see it as a part of the siluk. We see it as a part of the putting down. And let me explain more. If I'm holding in my hand a hammer, so I use the hammer, and I'm allowed now to put it back. It's part of the heter that Chazal never answered on the hammer, right? And to go and apply that and say that somebody else could put it down, that would be a tremendous chiddush. Why should I let somebody else move muksa? That clap him, it's a new ma'aseh tilta, right? Here, when we're dealing with the Mila knife, it seems to be that there's some type of a svara. I'll show you a riot to the svara in a moment. But there's some type of a svara when someone is involved in the ma'aseh, and Hagufa, that's what Chazal wanted over here. Chazal want him to do the Mila, and they want him to put down the knife. So then it could be he's like a hemshich of such a ma'aseh. Now, over here, it's a chiddush. Let me just show you what I mean. I should probably tell the mashal first. There's a case like this. I have this case. Every single Shabbos, I have this shaila. You'll see what I mean. Every Shabbos, people bring me shailas. Right? Maris, they bring maris. Amara, for all intents and purposes, so it depends. By me, Amara, Yerushalayim, there's a whole market of maris going. There's a whole gamach of maris. Maris I could learn. He wants to teach. It's like 5,000 maris going around. So the maris that I get, it's like, I think in English it's called the swatch. Like you have like a furniture in the furniture store, right? And they have like swatches of different colors and this and that. So it's a swatch. By me, I get a mara, that's like that's a geschmacker one, So the mara is something that's going to have a lasting value by me. But let's say, let's say there are tkufas when I'm not teaching, let's say, right? So then the Mara goes in the garbage. Now, an aid bedika is, totally useless after it was once used. You're going to say, well, you could wash it here. It's not normal, here, okay? What? Yeah, here. No, but I'm saying, but Claude, you could also wash a tissue. You could also wash a mask. There's one on the floor there with a gishmaka color. Maybe, maybe somebody should go. So what's the answer? The answer is when something is oimid for the garbage, we're going to see, and there's good reason it should be oimid for the garbage. It's not just like you plan on throwing it out or whatever, right? Plastic cup is also aimed for the garbage, but that's because there's no good reason. Here, that's why we'll see if it's yamuk. Now, here it has a stain on it and it's unusable at this point. And to say he could wash it, but he's not going to wash it. So pashtis, a bedika cloth, once they bring it to me, is considered muksa, right? It's totally useless. It's not a kli. It's a totally useless functioning item, right? It's a stone. It's a piece of dirt. Once there's nothing I could do with it, it's a piece of dirt. Okay, you could argue on the premise, and Yes Hashem will learn Muktzah Machmas Gufa, and we'll see rayas to that idea. Okay, so now I have a big problem. He brings me a Mara, he gives it to me. So technically, right, and I remember when I first was a young man in Yerushalayim, I brought the Mara to somebody, a Shiloh, and he took the Mara, and it was on Shabbos, and he dropped it straight into a garbage right there, right? Okay, then I brought him, it was a Shivnakim, so I brought him the Mara the next day, and he didn't. I didn't understand this thing. I didn't know there's something called muksa. This I told you before I was religious. I didn't understand these things yet. Right? It's muksa, not muksa, right? I studied him, I watched him, I know what's going on over here. And I asked him, what's going on? How come yesterday he went like, that's what he said. He said, Amara is muksa. I don't know what he's talking about. Imagine telling somebody, your tie is muksa. I don't understand what he's talking about. But now you understand what he's saying. He's saying, look, this thing is muksa. It's unusable. There's nothing I can do with it. And so again, in Yerushalayim, I'm a supik because since there is a whole, network of maras going around and whatever. So you could even dan the fact that he's not using the mara who says that it has a shei muksa. It's like animals that eat shells and pits and everything. If they live in your neighborhood, it could be that it won't be muksa. If you have Mara people in the neighborhood and whatever, by them, that's good. What'd you throw that out for? Baltashres, shegets, what's wrong with you? So okay, these are shilas you could dan, but let's dan assuming it's muksa. Let's assume she's muksa, right? If she's muksa, if this aid badika, she's muksa, so he has to take it and drop it right in the garbage. Obviously, if you're reusing it, it's not muksa. Okay. So now what happens is, he has the Mara and he gives it back to the person. He tells him, you throw it out. He says, is that a problem? Is that allowed? So there's a precedence to this. This is very interesting. In Ilchis Pesach, in Simon Mem Vav, there's a bir lacha, mamish about this shayla. He doesn't talk about a Mara, but he talks mamish about this shayla. He says, you bring to the Rav a kugel, a shtickle kugel over there. He asked the Rav, I'm not sure, is it chametz? Is it not chametz? I'm not sure. Why would it be chametz? He starts telling him the story, and the Rav looks at it, and he starts looking at the shaila. So the Rav says like this. He says, it Be'alacha brings. Be'alacha is in Taf Mem. It used to be in Taf Mem Vav. 1 second. Yeah, it's still in Taf Mem Vav. Look, this Mishnah Berurah highlights things that they feel are important. So it's really highlighted. Let's see. You bring, there you go. You bring it into the Rav. You bring this matzah, and it's a matzah with a kfula in there and a whole thing of it. You bring it to the Rav. Lishal oil alav. So you tell him, Rebbe, is das chametz, right? Is it chametz? So the Rav sagt. He says, das is chametz. The Rav says it's chametz. Dibru b'zeh achrayim. So now they had a problem because they had to get rid of the chametz, right? So could you bring it back? Could you hand it back, the shoyel, to the nishal, the Rav? Can you hand it back to the shoyel, and the shoyel will bring it back and he'll throw it in the toilet? Could they lichvais alav kli or do you have to lizraik tekef miyadai, right? Ayin in the chayk yankiv. So it's a mitzvah to the shmayel the divrei the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah says to go and look in the chayk yankiv, and so I did. And the Chayk Yankov says, throw it out miyad. Get rid of it miyad. Drop it right there. No games, right? Del Yerabba, he says, then he writes, Ube'el Yerabba. They hold this isn't important, but I'll read it anyways. Ube'el Yerabba, Bel Yerabba, So go and look at the Ali Rabbah. So he tells you, Hanira filu nema de mutter l'talta. The Ali Rabbah says, no. He says, no. His Mardik is that. He says, the shoyel is a hemshich of the nishal. The nishal, the Rav, he was holding it. And it's sad to say that the Rav, now this is not muktzah that turned into his hand. This is muktzah that was nizgala that it was, right? It's muktzah that was nizgala that she is muktzah. Interesting. Anyways, so now the shoyel, he's holding the nishal is holding the muktzah. So he says, no, you can give it to the shoyel because he's like a hemshich. He says this type of svara that it's a hemshich. It's all part. I only gave it to you, Rav. I only gave it to you as a chetimtza to see something, but it's all like one that connected the story over here. Interesting to lump this, no? So he says, however, I feel a name of the mutter. Okay, but that far he says is don't go and bring it to your house and put a bucket over it. Why would you do that? Go straight to the toilet. Go straight to the basic. He say that's what he says over here. He says the whole heter of Kiryas Kli gets involved in Nichos Pesach. Come on, what do you see over here? You see this right there, Chagav. You see, you have a shoyel and a nishal, and he looks at them as a team. Just on the word over here. He looked at this as a team, and he says the shoyel is going to be allowed to take it back because I only gave it to you al das to be able to see what's going on. I'm allowed to take it back. He looks at them as a team. Is that a riot to the bris milah case? Not really. There's no teammates here, you know. What? It's the same Eli Rabbah. It is the same Eli Rabbah. The Eli Rabbah is the same Eli Rabbah that over there in Ilchas Muktzah. That's why I thought there must be some relation. It's the same Eli Rabbah that says give the milah knife to somebody else, which the Mishabura is makel on b'shas chak. So I don't know exactly what. Halacha l'maisa, in other muktzahs, I would be very nervous to continue it by giving it to somebody else. I'd be extremely nervous. The Prima Gadim does say a kula. The Max Shekel says no way. The Ben Ish Chai doesn't even allow you to give it from hand to hand. You know, you can't even give it from one hand, we saw yesterday, to the other hand. And the Das Torah is mesupik if you're holding it in both hands, if you could, go to that hand. So I would say like this, from one hand to the other, there's no one who's going to read the Mishabura and know that. No one will know that, so therefore Mistam you could be makel. Mishabura didn't say it, Mistam you could be makel. Nobody in the world is going to know that you're not allowed to change hands. To give it to somebody else, if you see over here that the Mishabura has a whole arichas, and he's telling you by a bris milah that is a makim to be makel, it's clear from the Mishabura that it's only over here, and it's only shasas chak, and there's no other choice. And Ravada, the definitely not to do it. So Adkan is what we spoke about yesterday. Well, now we start to share. What? Oh, the Mara. So I have lots of studim in the Mara. Just a moment. Oh, so first of all, very good. The Mara is a graf shalrei, right? Either the Mara is mamish like gold. It's for the people that does a geschmack of Mara. That's mamish like gewaldige Mara. So then the thing is like cash, right? It's Elamai the Mara is gefarlich, and it's such a bad Mara. It's a simple shaila, So that then besides stomach graf shalrei, maybe what are you going to do? Leave it over there in the middle of the Tati? What's that? Not geschmack, not geschmack. So maybe it's a graf shalrei, not geschmack. What? Cover it. Cover it. Okay. Cover it. Okay. Here, Tati, you forgot your hat. What's that? That's a problem. What? Oh, so that's I said. I don't know. Maybe there's a big gemach in Yerushalayim. So since there's a feel gemach in Yerushalayim for these maras and zachin, so maybe they have a shame of something which is usable, even though you plan on throwing it out. That's a svara. It's a svara. I don't know. It's svara. There's another svara when we get to milksa that technically you could wash it, even though you're not. We'll have to see. Is that a svara b'klal? Okay, right. But now, I do think that if you plan on not using this mara, then the rav should just throw it right into the garbage. A rav is supposed to be doing in the best oifen. Why should the rav give it to the person that he should take it and he should throw it back into the garbage? Is that like the case of Yen? Is that like the case of the chametz? Is that like the case of the chametz? I don't know. What? Come again? The Rav doesn't want chametz in his dining room. Yeah, but why does the Rav just put it right down there and koifekli? What? We do have a precedent. We do have a precedent over here from the Bir Halacha that he says that Lamaisa, when you have something that was going from a shoyel to initial, there is some logic of a shoyel to initial that connects them. More than that, I'm not 100% sure. There's another out there when it comes to a bris milah. that again, some type of a special kula when it turned into muksa biyadai, and maybe because it's a great loss, the Mila knife or whatever. I don't know, to go and take it to definitely not to take it to when you're holding something to hand it to somebody else. You're holding a hammer to go and hand it to somebody else. That's quite aggressive. That's quite aggressive. Again, one hand to another hand, that already, the steamus apaiskim is clearly to be makel, but to give it to somebody else, in the Mara case, makim to be makel, but the Rav is supposed to be better. In Yushalayim, bigger makim to be makel. Bris Milah, we're going to have Bris Milah day, and we'll talk about all these things. Okay. Sorry? Sorry? Come again? No, because it now, at this point right now, it's a davar shel heter gomer, right? Right now, it's telling me information about my wife, right? So it's a davar that's a heter gomer. There's nothing wrong with it right now. Right now, this thing is solid gold, right? In a minute, it might be a problem, right? But right now, this thing is going to be what? Sorry? No, because it's not words. No. So I got this wrong. Wait, now we start the shir. Adkan. Now we start the shir. Wait. We're not going to get to what I want to get to, but that's okay. Okay. So I got this Rav back. How did I get this Rav back? Right? So one time I came to the Rav, and the Rav was, he wasn't in his office, this Rav. And so I brought him the Mara. He's going with the Mara, that the Mara is muksa and whatever. So I brought him the Mara, and he told me, okay, just hold it, right? So, I was holding it. He's looking at it. That's whatever. Okay, so now I'm holding it. And he said, okay, just throw it out. Just throw it out. I guess, why can't I just drop it straight? Right? Why shouldn't I just drop it straight? So I guess for you could be saying, I don't want maras on my floor, right? Right? No, what was the pshat? Anybody have pshat? His Rav is now in the Olam Emes. I can't ask him anymore. But what was the pshat in the story? What? The Olam Emes, Gasharei. Okay, Gasharei. So what happened is while I was holding it, I remembered the Shiloh. Because let's say a month earlier or whatever. So what happened? He threw it, dropped it straight in the garbage. And then I asked him, why'd you drop it straight in the garbage? He told me muksa, right? So I said, okay, throw it out. So while I'm holding it, right? So I remembered what he told me. So I just dropped it on the floor. I dropped on the floor. I told him it's muksa. I dropped on the floor because I saw him do it. So he said to me, no, it's okay. So I thought, okay, so I should pick it up. But yeah, you should pick it up and throw it out. You should pick it up and throw it out. What's that? It always bothered me. He's a big Talmud Chacham, but he's in Olam Emes now. I can't ask him. What's this? My graf sharei. So then why do I have to pick up? What's the shlach shamish? What? You mean, why should he touch it and whatever? Okay. Okay. I mean, it's only outside, but he would have picked it up and done it himself? Maybe. He's in the Olam Emes. I can't ask him now. Sorry? No, but Marshach, then he's done from the favor. So what's he gaining? If he's wrong and it's not a graf sharei, Why did he tell you to do it like I'm talking a story that happened. Don't ask me why this and what? I didn't put fakir. Well, for me, why is it a graf sharei for the rock? That means only graf sharei for me. For him, not. For him, for sure, it's a graf sharei. I was thinking the opposite. I was thinking for me, it's not a graf sharei, right? For him, it's a graf sharei because it's somebody else. The truth is, then it became a Rav, and I realized it's not a graf sharei, right? You always wonder how they go in and they do surgeries and they take out schnitzel and whatever. Because when you get used to these things, it doesn't bother you. You get used to these things, it doesn't bother you, right? That's how it goes. But anyways, So what do you say? So this, I tell you what I found. I don't know. You guys want to say one malach? I hear it. So I found like this. Wait. I found like this. I found in the Rav Payalim. In Oischav Dalid. The Rav Payalim says, let's say you're holding a muksa, and if I didn't see it inside the Rav Payalim until afterward. And somebody brings down the Rav Payalim like this. He brings down, let's say you're holding a muksa and it falls on the floor. So he says, well, just pick it up. So now mamish kavaldik, right? This heter of continuing is not only is there a heter to continue carrying it, right? But if it fell, so you can pick it up and continue carrying it. Sounds like a chazak. What? Can I ask you a question? Who's the Rav Payalim? Ben Ish Chai. What did Ben Ish Chai say? Remember? Ben Ish Chai says you can't even give it from one hand to the other hand. So something's going on. He has to tell you, by the way, make sure you pick it up with the same hand. Like what's going on? The same Ben Ish Chai that told me I can't transfer hands. So, but if it falls on the floor, I can continue picking it up. Something doesn't stem. I know, but I'll pick it up with the same hand. You know, it should remind you, right? Something doesn't stem, right? So I looked up the Rabbi element side, and the Rabbi element says something different. The Rabbi element says he's talking about a case that you were holding a graf shel rei. The plot thickens, you know, it changes the story a little bit. You were holding let's say, a bedika cloth that he considers the Rav to be a graf shel rei, okay? And I guess I have a right. Graf shel rei doesn't mean, let's say, I'll give you an example. You're sitting in a shul, right? And you know that guy, this is before Corona, when people weren't, you know that guy, singing, blows his nose, boom, blows his nose, boom, blows his nose, boom, blows his nose, boom, it's getting higher and higher, blows his nose, boom, like Mount Everest, you see people on the top putting down flags, and blows his nose, boom, boom, he blows his nose, right, boom, you know what I'm talking about? All of a sudden you come to the shul, get out, right? You see, you can't even see the guy. Surrounded by all the snow, all this whole mountain of tissues and dust, and they're turning green, they're pregnant. So you come over to him and you say to him, Rabbi, graf shel rei. He looks at the Jew, he says, not for me. You want to move it? Because I'm dead. Right? Is that true? Is that true? That's not true. That's not true. One something is the heter of graf shel rei. We didn't learn yet, but the heter of graf shel rei is that you can move muksa because kavod abrius and because it's dreadful and whatnot. So let's say you're not so eckled. You're not so eckled by it. You're not so bothered by it. So that doesn't mean that you can't move it, and the only person that can move it is the person that's eckled for them. Probably not. If there'll be a heter of graf shel rei, so this Rav says, listen, that mar over there, this is a graf shel rei. Okay, you can't leave it on my living room floor. Okay, now I'm trying to explain him because he's in the other madness. Because you can't ask him. So now that Mara, she's on the floor. Okay, now she's a graf shel rei. Okay, now me to continue it, that for sure you could do, because that's mefurish already in Rav Payalim. Once already you were carrying the graf shel rei, and you want to pick it up because you dropped it on the floor, and so you can continue carrying it and you can go and throw it out, right? You like my pshat? It's a gewaldige pshat, no? No, it's a gewaldige pshat. I was so excited with the pshat. I was going to go to the kever and tell him the pshat. No, it's a mamash gewaldige pshat. No, you don't think so? Who thinks it's a gewaldige pshat? Right? Who thinks it's a tayis gemura? No one, right? Why are you raising your hand? You think it's tayis gemura? Because you have the smile? What's the pshat? It's a tayis gemura. Why is it a tayis? It's a tayis gemura because I threw it on the floor. I didn't drop it. I didn't drop it.
Who said that you said it's also?
So the only thing is that maybe the Rabbi Alim is saying like this. He's not saying a pshat at all that has anything to do with once you're carrying something that when it falls on the floor, you can continue carrying it, right? So the truth is like this. If you look at the Rabbi Alim, it's interesting. He sounds like he's talking that you're at the place where it's not really a graph anymore, and maybe you do have to rely on the fact that it's a continuation of the previous carrying, okay? In my case, it's mamash emes a graf shel rei anyways. So in my case, it could be you don't have to come on to all this stuff. In my case, it's just a regular graf shel rei. It's on the floor now, so then go pick it up. And he could have picked it up also, but like I'm saying, he didn't want to pick it up. All right? What is that? Where are you, graf shel rei? So again, if it's a graf shel rei right there on the floor, you have the same heter of graf shel rei. Elamai, it's in a place where it's no longer a graf shel rei. So I don't know. Maybe you'll hear some type of a svara that what? No, not really svara initial. Here's a pshat that by graf shel rei they let you dispose of it. Like the heter is to dispose of it. So once you're starting to dispose of it, they let you finish disposing it. I don't know, right? There's something like that. What do you say? By what? So I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to get his hands dirty. Maybe he's in the middle of lunch. I don't know. What? No. Maybe he's in the middle of lunch. I don't know. I don't know. He's all the members. I can't answer what. He's not even going to remember. It's a story that happened when I first got married, like 75 years ago. Right? This is so many years ago. He wouldn't even remember the story. right? No, but I'm saying, okay, I know. So Tachlis, what do we come out with? There's a lot here, what? According to the Ben Ish Chai, to move from one hand to the other by Rav Shalei. Interesting shayla.
The whole reason is you dropped it, you tried to throw it out. One hand to the other.
Maybe he's right. How do you know he's not right? Maybe it's not necessary. How do you know? I don't know. Maybe there the pshat is that they let you finish the heter. I like this pshat. They let you finish the heter of covered abris, dispose of the item. They let you dispose of the item. And even if it fell on the floor, even though it might not be a massive of total graph now, they let you dispose of the item. Why is that Mechayev need to change hands? Garbage bag, yeah. The garbage bag is a very negay case. Okay, halach l'maisa can be makel anyways, l'daiti, right? But let me finish. I'll answer you afterward. L'maisa, halach l'maisa. Halach l'maisa, you can be makel hand to hand. If the graf shel rei falls and it's still a graf shel rei, there's no shaila, you continue, right? If the graf shel rei falls and it's not a graf shel rei, but you're like in the middle of Rosh Hashanah, it sounds like over here from the Ben Ish Chai that there might be some type of a heter. From room to room, okay, let's say go back now. I have a Klishim Lakal Yisr, and I want to move it to a whole different room. If you read Mishnah Berurah, what would you know? What would you say? I don't know. The Shulchan Aruch says, what does it say here in Shulchan Aruch? It says, Mutar lito lanicha be'ezeh makom sheyirtzeh, any place you want. I don't know. It sounds like you do it any place you want. That Gudda said you can bring it to your cheder, you can bring it to your room. I don't know. The Prima Godim has it sad not like this. Has it sad not like this? I don't know. I'm not that it's allowed. It's allowed. Because Makam Shiyirtze. Now, to stam hold it, that we already saw yesterday in Siman Shilam test, and Sivkat in your test. Some Shabur said you got to get rid of it as fast as possible. You have that. You can't just hold it. And Shabur says, he says, Kol she'efshel l'salik amoksa miyadai mechuyev l'salik. Avada, you can't just like stam hold it, right? That's why I said the case before about the money in your pocket. Avada, you have to go as fast as possible, ASAP. Okay, that's number 2. Okay, number 3 is this sugya of pits and seeds. Let's for 2 minutes do this also. Okay, but then again, I told you we're going to come back to this stuff, right? So now I just want I'm sorry. I have in my mouth. I have. What am I eating? I'm eating a watermelon. Okay, I'm eating a watermelon, and I have inside my mouth. I have the pits. Okay, am I allowed to take it, pick it out, and throw it on the floor? Throw it into the. Am I allowed to pick it up, to touch them? I'm taking out muksa. Okay, in a case where it's muksa, mitzvah that we're going to learn, and we're going to probably come back to this again anyways. But am I allowed to take it out of my mouth? In a case where the seeds are muksa, what's a better example? The shells on the seeds, right? The shells. You take it, are you allowed to, and you see what they do, right? They go in there and then it's in their mouth and then they go like this and they go like that, right? Are you allowed to take it out, and then throw it on the floor? Sorry, it's an evil muksa. Muksa is good for you. Muksa is good for you. It's a shell. In a case where it's not. So this is a world war. What do I mean it's a world war? Okay, there's other issues. We're going to learn one day, seed day, this is a big topic in Yerushalayim, right? I just want to tell you what's going on here though, right? The Graz says, in Sivkat and Samach Zayin, spit it out. The Graz says, you say, okay, Chassidus Shehid, these guys, it's a different type of a culture, whatever. Okay, Darach HaShulchan, no, because, what? No, I mean the Graz. You say, he was Machmir, because, they don't really care, whatever, right? Wait, slow. Wait, Rabbi saying you don't have to call names. Well, man, I didn't call names. Wait, we'll get there. 1 second. What? No, it's in your mouth right now. He says, don't take it in your, yeah. Rabbi Stender says, right? He says, if you take it in your hand, so then we're back to old shilas, muks in your hand. So muks in your hand, what does our Rabbi, the Mishnah Berurah say? Even money drop miyad. No, not drop, throw. Our Rabbi Mishnah Berurah, throw it miyad. Even Geld, Franklin, it's not the Jefferson. What's his name? The one of the $20 Jefferson, yeah, Jackson, whatever his name is, right? So Jefferson, who's on it? Jackson, like I said, right? So you throw him down. Trump, who's it? On the floor. Rabbi Stender didn't help. On the floor. If it's in my hand, on the floor. I'm saying a bigger chiddush. You can't take it out with your finger loch and throw it on the floor. Spit it out. Balatanya. There's a Rav in Nevardik. Who's the Rav in Nevardik? Aruch HaShulchan. Who's bigger than the Aruch HaShulchan? Aruch HaShulchan knew Kol HaTorah Kula. He's the only sefer kimat that we have that wrote on Psak Halacha, on Kol HaTorah Kula. He wrote on Naziris, Rabbi Isai. Right? He wrote on everything in the world. He wrote on mamish everything. He wrote on everything. He probably wrote on everything. Right? Wrote on everything. I'm learning now. Saita Halacha L'maisa. He wrote on all the minchas and the korbanos. Halacha L'maisa. The Aruch HaShulchan. Everything. Aruch HaShulchan in Sivkat Nunei. He says, spit it out. He's a Nevardiker. You say, okay, Nevardik, no, these guys, they would walk into, everyone knows Nevardikers would walk into the Makolet and they would say, do you sell light bulbs? So Makolet was straight to come. Then they would walk into the hardware store and they would say, du hast Milch? Milch hast du? You have milk? It's a hardware store. Was straight to come. They would scream at him and yell at him, whatever. That was a Nevardiker. So you could say, no, he could spit out pits, right? He could spit out spit. What? He was Megayer when he came to Nevardik. He was from Petersburg, you're saying, right? Originally at Ungehepen in Vilazhin and Petersburg and all that, right? There's lots of stories. There's a Jew a few years ago that he wrote a book on the Aruch HaShulchan. So that the book over there. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Okay, but his name Henkin. No? Yeah, that's all the stories. But in the Vatican, you don't know what happened. Maybe, when you come to this koil, you become one of us also, right? You start calling, the table, she did this, the table becomes a she, you know what I mean? When you become a part of something, that's it, that's how it goes. Okay, so anyways, the Vatican, maybe he could spit out pits. But for Moshe Feinstein, he was like a New Yorker, no? New Yorkers are the finest of human beings, Right? This wasn't written in Luban. This isn't Chelik Ches. Right? This is Chelik Ches. So Ramosha, right? Ramosha in over here in Hay, Tess Hay. What did I write here? Tess. I think Tess. Let's see. Tess. Hey, Eich Yoitzi b'Shabbos b'Piv Garine Paris. Well, how are you going to take out the pits from your mouth? How are you going to take out the pits from your mouth? The ones that aren't eaten by farm animals. Yeah? The Shein and Echel Behema. B'davar Peir, Rabbi said, B'davar Peir Sheish Lem Garinim, Shein and Echel Mafila Behema, Im Sark Lizrak Mipiv B'Shabbos, or could you take him out b'yad? Mistaber She'asa Litla b'yad. You can't take it out b'yad. Sark Lizarka Mipiv, you have to spit it out with your mouth. The Kain Raisi in the Aruch HaShulchan, in Siman Shin Chasiv Nun Hey. The Kain in the Mishnah Brura. In Siv Katan Kuf Chav Dalet. That Mishnah Brura is a little bit debatable. That's why I didn't quote it. Garine Tmarim. So our Rabbi Ramosha Feinstein, he says, spit it out. He said, Rabbi Shlomo Zalman, everyone likes the things that we want to be mutter. We say Shlomo Zalman was makel, Shlomo Zalman was makel, Shlomo Zalman. So Shlomo Zalman, there's an Orah Shabbos. He asked this question to Shlomo Zalman. It's a letter that Shlomo Zalman wrote him in the third Taharik over there, in the third Gimel in the back over there. Gimel. He writes, Shlomo Zalman said, you have to spit it out. You have to spit it out. I asked Shalat Rabbi Yashiv, you have to spit it out. You have to spit it out. You're going to spit it out. So Rabbi Yashiv said, listen, if you have it still has a taste. It still has a taste of, some people, they like to suck the backs of the seeds. I'm not saying these things are filled with crocodiles and whatever. I'm not getting involved in the bug shiler, right? They're filled with all types of pelicans and I don't know what. But he likes sucking the salt, right? So if it still has a salty taste, so then maybe you can take it. It's hard to understand because at that point now, what's he going to do? Give it to a friend, Here. He said he could put it back in his own mouth. Okay, but it's got to be that you didn't, suck it down to the end, and suck it to the end. Okay, so maybe if it still has a little bit of salt left, and at that point you chop it right before the end. But sometimes you want to get it good. So now you have everybody saying you have to spit it out, right? And then you eat the shell. Okay, so then if there's still a little flavor yet, you have Rav Elyashiv. You have a little flavor yet, you have Rav Elyashiv, right? But on a watermelon pit, did they make barbecue flavored pits in the watermelon? Or nachnisht? American Ballet Taiva. American Ballet Taiva. So Oh my God, it's over. What happened over here? You played with it. Okay, so let me just say one last thing. So I saw one sefer, right? I won't say who, but the sefer I quoted a lot of times. He asks, he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand all these great gedolim. He doesn't understand. What do you mean? It's in your hand. It should be tali in the whole shaila and whatever. So what's the answer? Obviously, muksa in your mouth is muksa begufay, right? Muksa in your mouth is muksa begufay. That's not called you're being metaltal the muksa. You're allowed to pick up muksa with your mouth. Maybe not always, maybe whatever. We'll see. But the zikr. So now I'm taking it and I'm doing a new tiltal. Vada, that's asik gomer. Are you allowed to take the muksa, which is in your mouth, which is mutter? When it was in your mouth, it was mutter. It was tilta bekufay. Now you take it, you put it in your hand. Chas v'chalila. That's the first time that you're being metal to the muksa. That's a gomer. Now, if let me just finish this. Let me just finish the thought. Tomorrow we start fresh. If it's going to be ekeldik, it's mamish pachad. It's terrible. Oh, gefährlich. You're going to spit in front of everybody. It's gefährlich, right? And also with the mask, it's so hard. It gets caught in the mask. It's going to be terrible. So then you get involved. There's a graf shalrei. You get involved in graf shalrei, which we have to see the parameters of graf shalrei. It could be somebody tells me to spit it out is going to be a graf shalrei. It could be. Sorry. The napkin is also, that's called just like a glove, So maybe he's saying maybe it's a graf shalrei if I'll spit it out. But you have to be honest. What's a graf shalrei? What's not? It gets complicated. What's called graf shalrei? I mean, this whole thing is, not so pashit, right? I know. My point is like this: Rabbi say when and Rabbi say now it's on the table. Now you spit it out on the table, okay? You spit her; she's on the table, okay? Now Now you got to pick it up, and you have to. So you have to, Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to learn all this. You have to going to learn all these things, but you're going to have to, you shell an egg. Nachal, you're supposed to be shelling it over the garbage. After what you learn now you learn that when you shell an egg, you shell it over the garbage, right? Because you don't want to be saymich on mooks in my hand and then bringing over to the garbage. Certainly once it hits the counter, it's called tov. You got to get involved. There's eggshells, grav shalreis, and all these things, right? So this is basically Adkan. A lot of these sugyas in Mitzvah Hashem, we will come back to. Tomorrow, very, very muchadik day. Tomorrow we're going to learn. I want to give one hakdama to what we're going to learn tomorrow. You guys are learning now Sif Daled. You started Sif Daled Klishmach Daled. Right? You started Sif Daled Klishmach Daled. I want to tell you one thing. Okay, what goes on in the world and what's mutter and this is the probably the most not known halacha in Kol HaTorah Kula. Okay, now don't worry, your lives are not going to change this Shabbos. Okay, you leave that to me. Your lives are not going to change the Shabbos. Go learn the sugya. And see what should come out halacha l'maisa. Are you allowed to just move around the Al-Kajala? You're allowed to move around this glass thing. You're allowed to just push a table on Shabbos. Don't worry. I know you're nervous. It's going to change your life to Shabbos. It won't change your life. I'll try to figure it out. It won't change your life to Shabbos. I'll tell you the secret already. The Avnei says the minhag oilam is to make on this whole shaila, the side mechan hashita, and don't worry. Okay? So now it's mutter. Everything's mutter. Now go learn the sugya. And see what you're allowed to actually do on Shabbos. See, are you allowed to on Shabbos just move around your hat? Are you allowed to move around the mask? Are you allowed to, move around, your watch? You're allowed to just move your watch. You're allowed to move things for a reason, for not such a good reason, for a little bit of a reason, right? You have clothing, they're outside and they're sitting in the sun and, you just want to take it in. Why? Kacha? I don't know. Because I just do, right? You're allowed to just move things on Shabbos. Okay? Don't worry. We're going to be Meiko. Don't worry. Okay? Allah L'maisa, don't worry about it. But now go learn the sugya. Then maybe if I get you, we'll see what we can do. But, okay? Go learn. Sif Daled. Okay.